Deep beneath the earth lies a treacherous and dangerous dungeon. It's the forbidden labyrinth that none dares to enter other than the strongest S-rank adventurers. Once you enter it, you will never be able to leave. This mysterious place is known simply as the Abyss. A party of adventurers is busy preparing for their expedition to this perilous labyrinth. It's a party of S-ranked adventurers called Future Plan. The leader of the party, Godak, gets angry at a new party member for not doing her job properly. Jir, a newly hired swordsman, stands up for her. Godak becomes furious upon being faced with what he views as disobedience. That too when they are about to challenge the hardest labyrinth in the whole country. He decides to let it slide but reminds Jir that he must obey his every order when they enter the labyrinth. The new party member, Kraha, thanks him for standing up for her. Once their preparations are done, the party finally starts heading to the labyrinth. Kraha continues talking to Jir, eager to learn from the reputed successor to a prestigious sword school. She also heard from Godak that he had slain a dragon. Anxiously, he explains that he assisted his master in bringing down the dragon. He falls as the carriage experiences turbulence, but he continues by saying that he has a long way to go. Kraha chuckles as she finds him amazing as he didn't even flinch upon falling. After gathering her courage, she asks him a question that has been on her mind ever since she saw him. How she can become stronger? Jir is a bit surprised upon suddenly being asked this. She explains that ever since she was a kid, she loved heroic tales. She has always dreamt of being just like the valiant heroes in those stories. Jir tells her that being an adventurer requires more than just survival skills. It demands the ability to confront and defeat monsters. She tightens her fists on her legs and comments, "But no one will teach me." When she joined the group, she was told about the training to improve her role, but the training was to learn to observe, and if you can't, then give up. Jir imparts some of his wisdom by giving her a hypothetical scenario. He asked her what she would do in a situation where she is being attacked by wild dogs or other such monsters. Her first instinct leans toward a direct confrontation. However, Jir, the seasoned mentor, gently guides her perspective. He emphasizes the strategic advantage of setting up traps, steering away from the straightforward clash. Although it may be a bit underhanded, there are no rules in a battle. One must use all the cards in their possession. No matter how insignificant a card may seem, there will always be a situation where it's useful. The number of cards one possesses, as well as their values, is what determines how strong an individual is. In short, training, experience, and knowledge will raise your total value. She assumes him to be a theoretician, but he says, "No, I am just a quibble." He reveals that although he talks a big game, he doesn't possess many cards himself. His only skill is his swordsmanship. On top of that, he has many weaknesses. For example, one of them is his poor eyesight. He was also cursed by the dragon he fought. It cursed his eyes, and now only physical enhancements work on him. Kraha becomes terrified when Jir reveals that he is afflicted with an even greater curse than that. That curse is his extremely poor sense of direction. If he were to be in the labyrinth alone, he would probably never make it out. And if he lost his glasses, that would be the end of him. Keeping this in mind, he hands her his spare glasses for safekeeping, just in case he loses them. The carriage abruptly stops as the party has finally arrived at their destination. Just before they enter the labyrinth, Jir offers to teach her one all-purpose card for combat. He is not important enough to take apprentices, nor can he teach her some secret sword art. He can only teach her basic sword fighting if she is willing. Kraha quickly grabs his hand and bows deeply. Although it's just a small promise, it meant a lot to her. Little did they know what was about to come. A mere 2 hours into the labyrinth, Jir found himself alone, his glasses shattered, and the darkness closing in. The adventure had taken an unexpected and perilous twist, leaving the once confident party facing an uncertain fate within the depths of the abyss. In the heart of the labyrinth, an unexpected turn of events unfolded. The labyrinth raid had been proceeding smoothly, thanks to the diligent work of the support team in constructing a viable route. It was a perilous journey for no one, not even parties of S-rank adventurers, had managed to advance beyond the dreaded 3rd level. The main unit had effectively dealt with any opposition, paving the way for our intrepid group to forge ahead. But the true challenge lay ahead in the abyss, a labyrinth so perilous that once someone entered, they'd never see the sky again. The real trouble began when they encountered the third-floor boss. These bosses were powerful creatures infused with magic from the labyrinth itself. Unlike the common monsters wandering the labyrinth, these bosses awaited in chambers called boss chambers. Most of them could be bypassed, but the third floor's chamber posed an exception. Following their planned strategy, Jur, the main defender, led the charge. It was a tactic aimed at diverting the boss's attention to a single person, in this case, Jur himself. Skilled with the sword, he accepted his role, knowing that it meant enduring the enemy's attacks, a practice beneficial for his physical training. However, the lack of backup support became evident, prompting Jur to check behind him. What he saw was their leader, Godach, infusing his famed demon sword, Vanish, with an excessive amount of mana. It was a calculated decision, considering the boss's strength. But a turn of fate led to Jur being within range of the leader's attack. The result was swift and chaotic. A flash of dark energy followed by an explosion tore a hole in the labyrinth's foundation, causing Jur to fall into the abyss. As he looked beside him, he saw the boss had also fallen and now seemed intent on attacking him. Determined, he fought the boss, but escaping the abyss seemed impossible. That catches us to the present. Jur bores deep resentment toward Godach for this situation, regardless of his intention. The reasons behind his aggressive move remain unclear. Jur wondered if it was related to their earlier dispute. Driven by a strong desire for payback, he aimed to confront Godach once he escaped the labyrinth. But for now, his priority is seeking help. He considers seeking aid from his companions, like Kraha, and he hopes that there must be others too who have a moral sense. They will lower a rope and pull him up. He hopes that their support might help him escape the abyss and later fulfill his vow to avenge Godach. Looking at the intimidating ceiling, he knows that he needs to call for help first and tells himself to calm down. He finds comfort in the assurance of his intact glasses, lifting them high in the air. However, his sense of solace is abruptly shattered as the sound of a crack reaches him and the glasses break. Thus, a new and uncertain chapter in his adventure is about to begin. Godach and Kraha engage in a serious discussion about the unfortunate accident that had unfolded. Kraha questions him about his intentions regarding Jur. She asks if he intends to abandon their comrade. Godach carefully examines the situation, considering whether the floor boss could withstand the unleashed power of his demon sword. He understands that if this continued, it might be too much, and they would need to withdraw from the perilous situation. Kraha presses him further, suggesting that he might have intentionally caused this misfortune. She couldn't fathom how a skilled swordsman like him wouldn't notice that Jur was evenly matched with the floor boss. The act of unleashing his demon sword in such circumstances appeared odd. This accusation prompts a stern response from Godach. He inquires what she would do about it and labels her as a useless support member with too much audacity. He even threatens to report her to the guild for attacking a fellow member from behind, mentioning that it might result in criminal charges. Moreover, he reminded her that she remained liable for any injuries caused within the labyrinth due to negligence, and her actions could lead to the revocation of her adventurer registration. When Kraha pointed out that there were witnesses to the incident, Godach questioned the silence of the others. No one came to her defense, and he claimed that she had imagined the entire incident, dismissing her as baseless and a troublemaker. He instructed her not to bother him, signaling the party's withdrawal from the labyrinth. Kraha felt disheartened by her inability to make a difference in this situation. The leader urges her to leave, warning her that staying behind could result in her swift demise. She questions another party member about why everyone sided with Godach. The member explains that he held immense authority and that their party was the only S-rank party in the country. They depended on this status to support their families, and crossing Godach's path would jeopardize their ability to venture into the labyrinth. Despite these discouragements, Kraha remains determined to return, even if she has to venture alone. Her comrades advised against it, emphasizing the danger she would face. They believed she lacked the strength to effect any change. Despite her sadness and frustration, she couldn't deny the harsh reality of being an adventurer. She understood that this wasn't the first time she had seen such a situation, and it wouldn't be the last. Upon returning to the party's lodgings, Kraha faced a difficult decision. She didn't wish to remain affiliated with a party like this, but her desire to descend into the abyss again, perhaps to rescue Jur, weighed heavily on her. She knew that if she severed ties with the party, her future plans would be in peril. Thus, she chose to stay and endure the circumstances. 3 months passed, and Kraha was standing outside the labyrinth, gazing at its imposing entrance. She had made it a daily routine to run all the way to the abyss. On this particular day, she noticed large carriages parked outside the labyrinth. To her surprise, she saw holy knights nearby, a unit directly under the church's control. Their presence raised questions about what had occurred inside the labyrinth. Holy knights were typically involved in sealing fallen kings, so this was an unusual sight. Among the holy knights, she spotted a girl holding a staff. Some referred to her as Saint, but the girl urged not to use that title, claiming it didn't suit her. Kraha ponders sharing with the girl the uncertainty surrounding Jur's survival. Despite the doubts, she was unwilling to surrender to despair, realizing that even a seemingly insignificant support member could possess value. She dismissed what Goddess told her. She drew inspiration from Jur's advice about understanding one's cards. Motivated by the desire to bring back her friend, she resolved to undergo a transformation and do whatever was necessary to rescue him. She can't bear to stay as she is now and walks towards the Saint. On the other side, Jur has transformed into a self-proclaimed caveman, urging others not to underestimate him. He had endured 3 exhausting months since the disaster, reaching his mental limits. Surviving on the unpleasant cave pond fishes, he contemplated his situation. Discovering a crystal in a fish briefly excited him, but the thought of going insane dominated. Nevertheless, he clung to hope, believing that walking upward would lead him to the surface. Ready to bid farewell to his surroundings, he recalled a book discussing 2 types of people with poor direction. The first type was a fool who ignored any doubts. He identified with the second type, the faint-hearted, prone to second-guessing. He worried about becoming more lost if he let his faint-heartedness take over. Uncertain if he was going uphill, he considered the possibility of being the foolhardy type that steps into traps without caution. Sensing something in front of him, possibly a monster using a tactic to lure him, Jur braced himself. To his surprise, it was a real person, the same girl from outside the labyrinth with carriages. Despite losing his glasses and being unable to see her, he was shocked that a human, not a monster, awaited him. Contemplating the common occurrence of monsters at the ending of expansive traps, a wave of relief envelops him upon spotting one. Employing his secret sword arts, he defeats the monster behind the girl. Subsequently, he seizes her hand, tears of joy filling his eyes as he realizes he's not alone. The girl remarks, "This is it," and tells Jur to feel it as he will know what she means. They saw a groove in the floor, and upon feeling it, the girl suggested it might be a magic circle. Jur, a simple swordsman, found himself perplexed. She revealed that she was brought there by the people of the church and ended up in that spot due to the magic circle. He was surprised that she had ventured through the depths of the labyrinth alone. Curious, he inquired if she was attempting to conquer the labyrinth. She explained that she was investigating it on behalf of the church leaders, prompted by an ominous atmosphere felt 3 months ago. Jur, thinking he was the sole victim of a teleportation trap, learned she was not an adventurer, but part of the church. Jur, feeling like a stray dog on a rainy day, requested her to fix him with her sanitation magic. She teasingly remarked on his odor, comparing it to smog from a drainage ditch. Jur felt he met her just in time. Otherwise, he might have lost his mind and attacked her after 3 days. Grateful for her assistance, he thanked her for saving him, feeling completely refreshed. She noticed the cursed eyes of Jur surprising him. She knew how to break curses and asked him not to fuss over it. He was happy that she could break curses as she praised him for defeating a monster in 1 shot. Jur suggested settling down and chatting in a safe zone just a short walk away. Despite Jur knowing the location, his poor sense of direction made the journey take hours, leaving their legs numb. Finally, they sat down and introduced themselves formally. Her full name was Lilia, and she was from the church. She'd encouraged Jur to call her Lily or Leah. Jur, unable to see her face due to his eyes, spoke about his situation, but Lily already knew everything. Kraha, a short gray-haired girl, had informed Lily before they entered the labyrinth. She'd assured Jur that Kraha asked her to take care of him. He was relieved that Kraha remembered him and asked Lily to bring him back, even if it was just a single bone. Jur shared his story of being attacked by his own party members and the floor boss, uncertain of the party leader's intentions. Living as a caveman, he was swept away by water one day, leading to his encounter with Lily. She expressed sadness for his situation, promising to protest against the mean guy when they escaped. He updated her on his 3 months of progress and their journey upward. Jur, concerned about the scary floor bosses, admitted that he couldn't beat one of them. He had already discovered the path leading to the next floor, but his progress was impeded by an imposing obstacle. Stranded on this floor for several days, he found the challenge unbelievably hard. He attempted to force his way through with his sword and risked breaking it. The adversary was stronger, and Jur struggled to discern any weak points. Lamenting the absence of his glasses, which could have enhanced his performance, Lily humorously queried if Jur, without his glasses, resembled a bat, attributing his difficulty in confronting the monster to this visual impairment. In response, he dismissed the excuse, stating the need to face the challenge head-on. Despite intensifying training in recent times, he acknowledged a lack of skill compared to the formidable boss. The presence of a nearby watering hole alleviated his struggle to find enough to drink. Lily, playful yet concerned, advised Jur to ensure the cleanliness of his stomach. She then suggested facing the boss in its chamber, but Jur, citing his weakened state, expressed doubt about defeating it. Undeterred, Lily offered her assistance, referring to herself as Big Sis and proposing to transform him into a real caveman, emphasizing the pointlessness of the endeavor. With Jur conserving his strength for this moment, the focus shifted to the real issue, his sword. Fearful of mishandling its power, Leah reassured him, advising a forceful strike to shatter the obstacle. Jur, acknowledging the challenge without his glasses, revealed a preference for having a spare sword. She inquired about the number of hits required, and Jur asserted that a single well-executed blow would suffice. She remarked on Jur's confidence. Jur, drawn from past encounters, maintained the conviction that he could succeed. She promised a second swing as a bonus, a magic sword that would not break. She cast a spell on the sword, clarifying that it wouldn't become the strongest holy sword, but rather a fall holy sword. In their journey to the boss chamber, Jur expressed frustration at his inability to remember landmarks despite numerous visits. Finally arriving, they opened the door, preparing for a frontal attack. He unleashed his 8th sword Thunderbolt, confident but admitting the need for further practice. But still, he was able to shatter it with one shot of his sword. Lily told him that maybe the layer was a bit weaker than expected. He was a little surprised. What, it was the first time he had ever been able to use that technique? Well, it was not really a technique, without breaking his sword. She also told him she was afraid that she would become someone who talks a big game but can't deliver. Jur, too, thought that back, but it should be impossible for a lone adherent of the church to cast such a powerful enhancement spell. But Leah thought she never met the person before, one weaker than an archbishop or just as strong as a cardinal. However, wouldn't that be difficult for someone so young? Jur was thinking about the woman that was called Lilalia who was in front of him. She told him before she was in the age of 20. She looked young by way of speaking. No, hold on. Was he an idiot or what? Thinking about her ordinarily, it'd be such a dumb idea he'd immediately dismiss it. However, over the last 3 months, it changed somewhat. Leah asked if he was wondering what kind of monster it was. They hadn't figured it out, but it was maybe a horse with 4 legs. What's at the door? Should they keep going? Jur stopped and said, "Before that, can I tell you something?" He has a poor sense of direction, but he searched the door on this floor thoroughly. If he's not wrong, then the door in front of them leads to the upper floors. So if Lily thinks they're going the wrong way, it's okay to let it know. They decided to choose the path together. She asked him to count on her and not worry. He told her he loved looking at atlases. You could say he's a true homebody. He just really loves to stay at home, but he still likes looking through travel journals and guidebooks and whatnot. And he doesn't particularly enjoy traveling or going out much. It's just that he likes lazing around. He basically never leaves his house. Might go out maybe 2 times a year tops. "Oh, he's not trying to be a weirdo or anything," she states. "You can rest easy in the boat that's in my hands." Yep, nothing to worry about at all. However, once upon a time, Jer was tricked by his master into boarding a luxury passenger ship, where he was forced to fight desperately against a stupid amount of giant squid monsters. In the present, they were on the pathway which was moving toward the left or right, both thinking the same thing, pointing toward the left. It seems they think alike, and that's to keep going forward with double strength and double vitality. Those two were able to descend 50 floors in 1 month. They descended, and their adventure continues. They had yet to reach the surface, the journey proving to be another form of training. Jer could feel his entire body losing muscle, insufficient even for their intended movement. Exhaustion weighed on them. Although they believed they had ascended significantly, the labyrinth's depth remained apparent. Lily pondered the well-being of the Holy Knights, though it felt too selfish to inquire. How could she apologize to them? Perhaps it was merely her imagination at play. Thoughts filled her mind as they momentarily paused, realizing they might be lost. Jer knew that he had fallen from a fairly great distance. He hadn't realized it when he fell from the 3rd floor. He was continuously climbing upward for 4 months. Lily recognized their mistake. They could be on an entirely wrong path. Their sense of direction was lacking. She told Jer that there were 2 types of people. The first type continued on a genuinely wrong path. Throughout their journey, not once had they chosen the wrong path. The likelihood of 2 individuals both possessing such a poor sense of direction was astronomically low, nearly impossible. The second type with a poor sense of direction might be overwhelmed with anxiety, intentionally deviating onto the wrong path. Jer questioned if that was their current situation. What if they persevere and achieve nothing? She reassured him that most things would turn out okay if they persisted. Having surpassed 120 floors, turning back was no longer an option. As they continued their walk, they faced another fork. They chose the same path leading into a lightless ravine, descending even further. Casting aside their doubts, they pressed on, the sound of a shell's clatter resonating. Their adventure had only just commenced. Lily, dissatisfied with the food, found it disgusting, while Jer, in contrast, surprisingly enjoyed it, appreciating the taste despite the challenges of their living conditions. Lily's flawless sanitation magic played a crucial role in improving the availability of clean water, a significant relief for them. He expressed genuine gratitude for Leah's assistance, particularly in overcoming the difficult floor boss. After their meal, she opted to take a nap, while Jer's anxiety heightened concerning the growing challenges of confronting floor bosses relying solely on his own strength. He recognized the arduous journey ahead and grappled with accepting its demands. Lily, sensing his unease, questioned if she had unintentionally become a nuisance. Jer, however, was adamant that he didn't want to feel embarrassed by accepting her help. She contemplated the idea that people can only carry on due to the support they receive based on their capabilities. Playfully, she teased him about starting a habit of seeking help or self-help, lightening the mood. They shared a moment of laughter, both enjoying the exchange. In the midst of the laughter, Jer felt something more, possibly love, making it challenging for him to concentrate. Remembering his master's advice to avoid involvement with women due to his 5 divorces, Jer found himself unable to get close to women. His reminiscence took him back to the challenging 3 months he spent alone in filthy conditions, until Leah arrived. Despite scolding himself for overthinking, he couldn't help but focus on Lily, her sweet smile, and the endearing habit of holding hands after meals. His contemplation shifted towards his past experiences of traveling alone, where he was often treated as an apprentice. Now, with the chance to be close to a girl, he couldn't stop thinking about Lily. Feeling a mix of emotions, he decided to focus on his training, relieved that the monsters couldn't breach their safe zone due to Lily's protective barrier. However, he continued to grapple with his feelings for Leah and contemplated confessing them to her outside the labyrinth. Confused about Lily's age, which he couldn't discern due to his eyesight, Jer attempted to meditate to escape from his thoughts. However, his concentration was shattered when she suddenly appeared. Startled, he shouted in shock, and Leah, with her characteristic charm, asked him to sleep before bidding him goodbye. He was left surprised and captivated by her charms. Since then, 4 months have passed, and Kraha's daily life remained unchanged. It felt as if it were just a dream, with the wheel of her routine continually turning. The only noticeable change was the shifting season, marking the close of fall. Encountering a fellow member named Holland from the rank party in the park, she asked if he too was there for independent training. However, he was accompanied by his children, who weren't paying much attention. Covered in sweat, Kraha shared her workout routine, 5 sets of 10 sprints of varying distances, running at least an hour a day. Today, she planned to do 10 uphill runs without any physical rest. The party member praised her, noting that an adventure fast on their feet was a good one, although he believed that she might not be too happy hearing that from him. He offered advice, cautioning her not to mess up her body, suggesting that most issues could be healed at the church. However, he acknowledged the church's limitations once something serious occurred. Noticing the increased activity of the church, Kraha wondered about the change. It seemed they had been working hard, an uncommon sight in the town. Speculating that it wasn't the church's usual behavior, she questioned whether there were more nights than the church typically had. The conversation shifted as they observed church carriages. The party member explained that they were accustomed to early mornings and had been working hard, making appearances for about a month. Kraha had heard that the church usually took action only in cases like preventing the resurrection of the fallen. Wondering if she was overthinking it, she hoped their involvement wouldn't escalate into something significant. As Holland's kids arrived, bidding farewell to Kraha, they discussed the uncertainties of life. He expressed concern about the fragility of beautiful and honest things, fearing they might be ruined someday. Wishing her luck on her journey, he believed she would become a far better adventurer than he ever was. The Holy Knight arrived to meet Kraha. He wondered why she wanted to talk to her, expressing concern. While sipping on the tea, they both recalled their first encounter through Leah as she introduced Arlani and Kraha to each other. Being part of the Holy Knights, he inquired about what happened to their party and if they had given up on the Abyss raid. Kraha admitted they didn't tell her. Arlani informs her that when he asked Godach directly what happened, he said, "I've already given up on the raid." He was puzzled, questioning what could cause a party that had climbed so far to abandon the mission so easily, especially after just one attempt. They hadn't lost a single party member. This revelation shocked Kraha, and she realized that Jur was never registered with the party. Trying to understand, Arlani considered that, like them, the party might have encountered some trouble. Well, it didn't make sense to call off the entire raid after just one origin. Deep in thought, Kraha believes that Godot's only goal was to kill Jur. She ponders, why? Did he need to kill Jur? When the knight calls her name, she anxiously answers that the mysterious origin was an unknown threat from the beginning. Kraha confirms his understanding correctly as he mentions that the same happened to them as well. Arnold then shared a similar experience with the Holy Knights during their descent into the Labyrinth. They lost track of one of the 4 saints, Lilelia, after she got caught in a teleportation trap. There was something strong, but what happened after that was unclear. As he considered the situation, he drew parallels to the traps that can only be activated by a specific magic circle. He mentioned a trap that activated when the saint walked on it, even though it seemed worn down and shouldn't have functioned. The traps are not complex enough to designate specific targets. He cannot put up with failure of unknown origin. He believes that there's something in the labyrinth, as the 4 saints themselves were ordered to investigate, leading him to express his need to talk to Kraha. Concerned about the silence among her party members and the abrupt decision to give up, he continued to question her. He wants to know why the other members were keeping their lips sealed and why the person in question gave up on the raid. He is curious about the dead friend Kraha mentioned when she spoke to Lilelia and sought more details about what she knew. The person had recently encountered Kraha in a bustling restaurant. With a friendly demeanor, while she pondered if the person was a man or a woman, he decided to join her at the table and inquired about the tastiest items on the menu. Kraha assumed it was his first time at the restaurant. She knew that anything she chose would be delicious. She particularly highlighted the excellence of the meat dishes. She recommended the hamburger steak meal as a safe bet for someone new to the restaurant. He asked for a recommendation again, revealing that he was already familiar with the establishment. She suggested the special with 3 servings of pork cutlet and unlimited rice refills. She expressed hesitations about finishing such a hearty meal. He decided to order the special, saying it was exactly what he wanted to hear. Kra shared a unique insight into the special, explaining that the owners intentionally designed it to leave patrons so full that they would feel almost on the brink of bursting as they left the restaurant. He emphasized that this design was a manifestation of the owner's love and dedication to providing a memorable dining experience. The person with a mischievous glint in his eye added a playful note by mentioning that the owners would be a little upset if someone ordered 2 servings but left anything on their plate. As the orders arrived, the person surprised everyone by devouring both servings, showcasing an unexpected side to his personality, a hearty appetite bordering on gluttony. Unfazed, he continued his culinary inquiry by asking about Kra's choice. She nervously answered that she had opted for a lighter meal, only eating noodles due to a limited appetite. When it was time to settle the bill, he called over the owner, expressing gratitude for the delightful meal and thanking Kra for her company. He left with a creepy smile, stating, "I will settle things myself." In the depths of the labyrinth, Lily and Jur were taken aback by the sudden appearance of another person. The mere existence of someone else in this maze of endless corridors and mysteries was shocking to them. This individual introduced himself as Eunice. Unfortunately, Jur, with her broken glasses, couldn't recognize him visually. Eunice calmly joined them, creating a sense of comfort as he initiated the process of starting a fire. Leah was particularly thrilled by the sight of the flames, marking the first time they had a fire in their small village within the labyrinth. After starting the fire, Lily excused himself to rest. Despite Eunice's suggestion to wait until he finished speaking, Jur and Lily remained enthusiastic about the fire and their encounter. Eunice, however, reminded them that he could start a fire whenever necessary. As he delved into his own background, he revealed himself as the Archmage of the Star, a lone adventurer with a unique history. He also shared surprising information about Kra's future plans and the identity of Holy Knight's 4th Squad Captain Arnold. This revelation left both of them in a state of shock, as they hadn't expected such significant connections among them. Curious about Eunice's journey, Lily and Jur inquired about how he arrived at their current location. He explained that it was relatively easier for him compared to them. He utilized a magic circle that had teleported Lily from the 4th floor, enabling him to follow their trail. To their astonishment, Eunice disclosed that they were further descending into the labyrinth, hinting that they might have chosen the wrong path. Jur, feeling a sense of surprise and potential embarrassment, admitted that if Lily pointed out his mistake, he might have to grovel on his knees. The trio continued discussing their situation, prompting Lily and Jur to ask Eunice if he had come to rescue them. Eunice, however, viewed them as conquerors who had become stranded due to a higher-level floor boss. Acknowledging his own miscalculation about their sense of direction, he recognized their poor senses and laughed at the ironic twist of their adventure. As the conversation unfolded, he shared more about himself, and the trio continued their journey through the labyrinth. After 3 weeks of being stranded on a floor, they eventually encountered a massive door with a mysterious magic circle carved on its surface. The black magic circle made it challenging to decipher, prompting Lily to request Eunice to transcribe it. Using water to fill the depressions and pressing it against the ground, Eunice ensured the shape remained unchanged. Leah, upon reading the transcribed magic circle, unveiled its connection to an apocryphal beast, hinting at a deeper link to the fallen king and the construction of the labyrinth. The Rasti religion has sculptures separate from the canonical sculptures known as apocrypha. It serves a distinct purpose. It doesn't aim for moralistic teachings or present a purely narrative tale. Instead, it intricately details the story of an ancient king who sought to annihilate God and the fallen, engaging in a fierce battle with the apostle of God, Rasti. Certainly, to summarize, in Eunice's perspective, both Lily and Jur demonstrated a poor sense of direction, and he found himself joining this group. Over the past 4.5 months, they navigated the labyrinth, often meandering without a clear direction. During this time, they not only defied the prevailing wind, but also successfully defeated several floor beasts. The possibility was raised that instead of moving against the wind, they might have been unintentionally rushing headlong with it. The creatures they encountered in the labyrinth were identified as apocryphal beasts. There are theories suggesting that these creatures might actually be fallen king beasts, a segment of the Fallen. However, details about the king's battle with God's apostle Rasti were deliberately omitted for the time being. Legends describe these beasts as exceptionally formidable, with one of the greater beasts possessing the strength to rival an entire country. It's mentioned that it took an entire army to defeat just one lesser beast. Unis emphasized that what he conveyed about their encounters in battles was not a fabrication or an exaggeration. The creature looked like a horse, which they cut down, referred to as the Nightmare, and was considered a lesser one. This raised the question, why were there still lesser beasts present? Unis expressed the belief that these creatures were supposed to have been eradicated by Raza, Apostle Rasti, a considerable time ago. The presence of these beasts now poses a mystery and raises questions about their origin and the possibility of the fallen king's involvement. Unis contemplates whether the presence of these creatures and the magical anomalies in the labyrinth suggests a truth to the legends that some beasts still exist or that the fallen king might have created this situation. He leans towards the notion that it is close to the truth. The magic circle on the door, as mentioned in the Apocrypha, is a significant detail. He reveals that this magic circle is crafted from holy magic, specifically associated with Rasti. It's noteworthy that this information is only found in 7 copies of the Apocrypha. Additionally, Lily refrains from using the term apostle when referring to Rasti because she believes she is uncomfortable with people addressing her in such a manner. This adds an intriguing layer to the understanding of Rasti's character and the intricacies of the magical elements in the play. Lily explains that the magic circle is not a typical one, it serves as a protective spell. Its function extends beyond keeping outsiders from entering. It also prevents whatever is inside from getting out. Jur suggests caution, emphasizing that if it's a spell, breaking it might not be the best course of action. In contrast, Unis remains confident that there must be a key to breaking the spell, expressing a belief shared by Lily. They all agree that there has to be a key to unlock the magic circle, indicating a shared determination to move forward despite the protective enchantments in place. The uncertainty surrounding Rasti's magical abilities is discussed among the group. Lily questions whether a person of Rasti's caliber should have been able to create perfect magic that could still be broken by a holy magic user of a certain level. Unis expresses his belief that the labyrinth is somehow connected to the fallen, suggesting that it may have become a conduit for holy magic or that another such user, not subordinate to the fallen, might be involved. The conversation leads to the realization that something significant is at play, but the exact nature remains elusive. Unis then questions Jur about his knowledge of the labyrinth, given his status as an adventurer. However, he admits to not knowing much about it. Unis clarifies that he has never been an adventurer. Instead, he was an outside hire, responsible for understanding the strength of the monsters within the labyrinth. This revelation adds a layer of mystery to their situation as the group grapples with the complexities of the labyrinth and the potential involvement of various magical elements. Tensions rise as Unis reveals that Jur isn't even a registered adventurer, leading to his frustration. The group begins to suspect that Godok had a plan involving Jur from the beginning, adding an air of conspiracy to their circumstances. Despite Jur being one of the strongest swordsmen of the era, he disagrees with this assessment. Unis, however, insists on Jur's strength, highlighting his feat of defeating one of the strongest apocryphal beasts and emphasizing that he did so without his glasses. He paints Jur as a formidable force, suggesting that he could beat any other person and has grown even stronger during the 4 months spent in the labyrinth. He proposes a new direction for the group, going through the mysterious door they hadn't considered before. Jur, who initially intended to conquer the labyrinth but faced unforeseen circumstances, finds himself descending further into its depths, unable to refuse the new proposal immediately. Lily expresses concern about the prolonged disappearance and the worry it might cause among their acquaintances. However, Unis reassures them, claiming to have considered everything and ensuring that no one will be worried for at least half a year. He advocates for delving deeper into the labyrinth, exploring its lower floors, and then using teleportation spells to return to the surface. The objective is to reach the hidden core of the labyrinth, a massive source of mana located on the deepest level. He discloses that he was tasked by old saints to investigate the suspicious core of the labyrinth, emphasizing the importance of their mission. Despite not wanting to gather the strength to reach such depths again, Jur and Lily, who had initially reached this level on their own, are now accompanied by Eunice. This decision sets the stage for a new chapter in their labyrinth journey, fraught with mystery and potential danger. Eunice told them that 3 saints said there was an evil presence, and besides that, there were numerous ominous predictions made by the Magic Federation. He asked them once again if they wanted to help him. Lily agreed immediately, as she was thankful to him for rescuing them. Jur also agreed. They started bickering on who would choose the direction. They did rock, paper, scissors, but still, they were confused. Eunice suggested going in a different direction and meeting again, and whoever reaches first will be the guide. And they began. After 3 hours, Eunice was there. Jur arrived after 5 hours. Meanwhile, Lily arrived after 8.5 hours. She was happy that she at least made it back. So they were in front of the magic door again, obstructing them open with a grave sound to reveal the path to the deepest level. After a month of successful adventuring, Eunice opted to follow their guide until becoming more accumulated to the surroundings. Out of the blue, he spotted a monster. Jur attempted to confront it, but Eunice quickly adapted, gaining control of the situation. With a mastery of magic, he also transformed rain into a radiant scale of light. Remarkably, the group enjoyed several monster-free days. However, Jur's frustration grew as he found himself incapable of drawing his sword, feeling genuinely ineffective. Lily, on the other hand, considered the absence of monsters a positive, emphasizing that it reduced the risk of anyone in the party getting hurt. Her sanctuary barrier didn't appear particularly necessary. Moreover, Eunice could craft something akin to it. Their shared use of light created a unified persona. Jur chimed in, speaking of which, revealing his secret sword technique linked to stars and the moon. Eunice responded, "Let's not dwell on sad things." Sensing Jur's loneliness and wanting to alleviate it, it was the first time Jur had walked with 2 people nearly his age, and he expressed his pleasure at meeting them. Lily complimented Eunice, calling him cute, which made him happy. Deep down, he was ecstatic, comparing it to being on a field trip. He shared that he entered the Grand Library at a young age, a place rarely explored by people of his age. Jur and Eunice shouts in excitement, and Jur soon joins them to thinking they have triple the power. It was the first time Eunice had walked alongside 2 individuals nearly the same age. It was wonderful for him to meet these people. Reflecting on his past, he shared that he delved into the Grand Library at a young age, missing out on opportunities like this. He supposed it's the type of place he's never seen anyone else his age explore. Youth, huh? In his case, he was able to get in because his master had close ties to the Grand Library. It's genuinely uncommon for someone to venture into the heart of a location like that. This was the most challenging labyrinth after all. It was impossible not to be cautious. Eunice wasn't even being optimistic when he claimed the party was the strongest, and their current state of affairs seemed only natural. It would have been more terrifying if they had held back. Objectively speaking, they were the best. If they had failed to navigate through the labyrinth, it would have implied that humanity had yet to reach the peak of its abilities. He refrained from self-proclamation to that extent. The price of their talent manifested in their remarkably poor sense of direction. Eunice, contributing to the conversation, expressed curiosity about the situation, deeming the party practically the best in their respective fields. There was a belief that they should have naturally reached that point in due time. Jur added the 3rd floor boss was excessively formidable, and there was a genuine fear of facing death. Assuming it was hearsay, that particular encounter was one of the scariest. Eunice confessed to his companions about the monster, describing it as different from a nightmare but equally formidable even before its transformation. Lily, having undergone a similar experience, shared her account despite encountering skepticism. Later, their attention shifted as Jur guided them to a black door, the entrance to the deepest floor of the labyrinth. This door would take 10 days to unseal, and 2 days thereafter, fate would claim the lives of 2 among the trio. Their attention then shifted as Jur directed them to the next door. A black door stood before them, marking the entrance to the deepest floor of the most challenging labyrinth. The door would take a total of 10 days to unseal. Following that, 2 days later, fate would claim the lives of 2 among the trio. Kraha was sitting outside her house, a melancholy atmosphere surrounding her. At that moment, a fellow party member, Holland, approached, handing her an envelope. Concerned, he felt sorry that her house was burned. He further inquired about her well-being. She was doing some clerical work at the party lodging, so she did not get hurt. He questioned whether the Holy Knight had investigated, noting that a Holy Knight should have examined the situation. The party member suggested a potential connection, revealing that Godach had disappeared the previous night. Despite the group's efforts, they hadn't found any traces of him. He went on to advise Kra to distance herself from the situation and leave the party. Reports indicated that an archmage, specifically one associated with the stars, had entered the abyss. Reflecting on the party's history, he admitted their party was of a rank. To be honest, Godach elevated that party with his magic sword. He expressed reservations about forcefully raiding the abyss and emphasized the changed dynamics within the party after Godach acquired that magic sword. He tells her that there could be more to the story. She asks about other party members, but he replies, "We can't leave. They have been subservient to Godach since he picked up the sword. Despite this, they have things they need to protect." He urged Kra not to become entangled in their collective regrets, emphasizing that it was too early for her to suffocate from her own remorse. At that moment, Arlene arrives and asks Holland to tell him everything. He reveals that their party has no future plans and its nature has transformed from what it once was. A long time ago, Godach was not a bad guy, he was a good leader. They had the best time when they had a B-rank party. The members of their current lineup joined at that time. They had not been able to demonstrate their full power with other groups. Their party was a rehabilitation center for other members. Godach had that kind of ability. Kra then asked Holland, "Then why did Godach stab one of his allies in the back?" He said, picking up that magic sword was the trigger. After that, he completely changed. Kra questioned the origin of Godach's magic sword. According to Holland, he obtained it on the middle floor of a rank labyrinth, resembling the depth of the ocean, with a place filled with high salinity water. Despite the lack of detailed knowledge, he acknowledged the confusion surrounding finding a sword in such a location. Typically, labyrinths were not considered special places for discovering artifacts, and those seeking such items usually explored prehistoric ruins. At that time, Holland assumed it was merely something left behind by a deceased individual. In A-rank labyrinths, when a party either perished or retreated, they usually left supplies or belongings behind. However, a magic sword, being their most valuable possession, wouldn't be discarded during a retreat, leading Holland to believe it must have belonged to a deceased person. After obtaining the magic sword, Godach's party achieved certification as an S-rank party. Their previous limitation, the lack of combat strength, was overcome. However, since then, something seemed off about Godach. Despite knowing him for a long time, Holland, a party member, had sensed this change. He had even prepared his resignation from the party due to his commitment to protecting his family. However, Godach's unexpected appearance at Holland's home, sitting with his children and expressing anticipation for many more years of collaboration, left him in fearful agreement. Despite being aware of Godach's concerning actions, Holland chose silence to protect his family. When Godach did the same with Jur, a similar silence prevailed, but caution lingered when discussing the matter. For several days, Holy Knights patrolled the vicinity of their houses, although these incidents seemed unrelated to them. The church took action, suspecting a connection between the fallen king and the ongoing situation. Holland found this shocking, as he perceived the fallen king as a mere fairy tale. The involvement of apocryphal sculptures puzzled him regarding the current events. Kra, too, was surprised to learn that the fallen king might still be present, wondering how he could be connected to recent occurrences. The three saints and the Magic Federation shared similar premonitions and suspicions, including the involvement of an archmage. The idea that Godach might be connected to the king was just a hypothesis, but as they closely monitored the situation, they speculated that the magic sword, capable of reducing things to nothingness, had ties to the fallen king. Suddenly, they felt tremors and heard strange noises, prompting them to rush outside. An instrumental apocryphal beast, shattered by Jur inside the labyrinth, marked a significant shift in the challenges they faced since entering the second door. These beasts were notably stronger, unfazed by Uni's high-level magic. The quality of these giant horses surpassed anything they had encountered before. The sheer power of one of these beasts, if unleashed outside the labyrinth, could easily destroy a small village. The labyrinth's core had an intense gravitational pull, making it a profound and complex structure. As they ventured deeper, they pondered the total number of floors, estimating almost 200 in total. With the current progress, they believed they were nearing the end, fueled partly by Lily's hunch. Jer felt a sense of belonging with Eunice and others. To him, being with reliable companions made the journey feel like home, and he expressed a desire to go through it many times. He acknowledged that he wouldn't have made it this far without them. While not underestimating the power of other adventurers, he believed it was the three of them who could delve the deepest into the labyrinth. Eunice wished he had joined the adventure earlier, finding his companions adorable despite their ongoing banter. Lily proposes writing letters to each other once they're outside, teasingly labeling Jer as a cold-blooded person. She playfully taps Jer's nose with her finger, claiming her writing will leave him trembling in surprise. Blushing, Jer agrees, while Eunice bursts into laughter, tears filling his eyes. Their journey continued until they reached another door, and despite the fatigue in their legs, they opened it together with the familiar phrase, "Open sesame." Upon opening the door, a bright flash caught the trio, causing them to fall with a loud thud. The words in Jer's mind were, "To the east, you must fall." Thus time wound within Jer's shattered body and fading consciousness in a mere second. Only one thing persisted. His soul headed towards a dazzling destination that seemed ready to explode. He extended his hand as if trying to grasp that soul. He assumed a stance he had envisioned, visualized, and tested numerous times before. With that hand, he unleashed his killer technique, the secret sword art known as the Moon Dream. He found himself in a state of shock, bewildered by the recent events. Upon entering the room, the sudden appearance of the boss caught him off guard. He felt a peculiar sensation in his hand. Meanwhile, Eunice lay on the ground, visibly wounded and drained. Lily urged him not to move or speak. Eunice believed that he had overexerted himself with magic, considering it a punishment for his pride. Jer, reflecting on the situation, was still grappling with the question of what had just happened. Eunice explained to them that he had used a new technique he discovered at the end of the stars, a primary factor in his certification as an archmage. Normally, it required meticulous attention to star alignment and extensive preparations, but this time he forced it. The ability allowed him to rewind time, though only for a brief period. He expressed satisfaction that Jer was able to defeat the beast within the window of time he provided. Despite their vain struggle, it ultimately did not prove to be in vain. The repercussions of Eunice's self-sacrificial act became apparent in the aftermath. His protection allowed Lily to complete the incantation, ensuring their collective survival. However, the cost to Eunice was severe. His organs suffered significant damage as a consequence of utilizing the technique in an area devoid of mana for stars. The very life force that powered this extraordinary magic had taken a toll on him, causing his insides to burst like a balloon. In the face of this dire situation, Lily stepped in with her healing magic, mending Eunice's battered form. He expressed his gratitude to Lily for her timely intervention. Jer, recognizing his sacrifice, also conveyed his appreciation, thankful to Eunice for preventing an immediate tragedy. Jer was distressed by the realization that he couldn't defeat the floor bosses here as easily as before, attributing it to the awakening effect. He was uncertain about the cause. Eunice, too, wondered if the time reversal was a result of accumulated experiences. Although undefined, there was a phenomenon known as experience, familiar to individuals like them. Whether in a life or death scenario or a moment of profound understanding, this wonder occurred instantly when overcoming challenges, such as when a mage delved into a significant truth. These moments were marked by a phenomenon called experience. The individual experiences a drastic increase in their abilities, entering a state known as awakening for a brief period. During this time, they can achieve remarkable feats that were previously unthinkable. The pivotal strike executed by Jer, which shifted the course of the battle, was believed to be a consequence of this marvel. Furthermore, the sustained elevation in their rank enables them to undergo significant and extreme growth, propelling them to an entirely different level than before. While it would still be possible to attain such power through normal growth, the time required for this achievement is significantly shortened. The presence of the experience profoundly influences an individual's true proficiency in swordsmanship and magecraft. Following the experience, one's abilities see a notable increase, yet the effects of awakening have already faded. Jur now considers himself to possess a power level akin to that of his master when they defeated the toxic dragon. He is confident in his ability to survive an encounter with a floor boss of that magnitude. However, he acknowledges that achieving this without the awakening effect is challenging. When he was split into two by a beam of light, it wasn't due to carelessness, but rather a stark demonstration of his vulnerability against a strength level that swatted him aside like a mere insect. The reality was that Jur remained relatively inexperienced compared to the vastness of the world around him, and it might take some time to navigate his way back to the surface. However, from Yunie's perspective, this situation seemed more preferable to actually reaching the surface. Leah shared a similar sentiment, but her concern lingered. The floor boss Jur had vanquished was an apocryphal beast, exceptionally powerful even though it was considered a middle-tier creature, and had below-average direct combat ability. Orchestras, a species of magical birds, existed in a lower order, taking on the form of instrumentals. These creatures, also avian in nature, attacked in coordinated flocks. The challenge with beasts excelling in group battles lay in the formidable support function of their lower-order members, making them particularly challenging to handle. Each of these lower-order creatures represented a middle to lesser form of an apocryphal beast in its own right. According to Rasti, overcoming the commander of these flocks would lead to an easier victory. In the room they entered, there were no instrumental entities present. Apocryphal beasts were always marked with a numerical indicator on their bodies, revealing their species upon inspection. The one they encountered was an orchestra, and the apocryphal beast that took down Jur was a lesser power type, leaving him disheartened. There was concern that they might struggle against a higher-ranked beast, and the possibility of encountering a greater beast made the prospect of turning back seem sensible. The experience, while not particularly convenient, was anticipated to occur 2 or 3 times, causing genuine distress for Jur. Udis inquired whether Jur had successfully defeated the third-floor boss. He confirmed that he had indeed defeated the boss, but regrettably, he fell during the battle when Godach unleashed his magic sword. Remarkably, Jur managed to eliminate the boss while descending. However, the twist occurred when the boss not only perished, but also exited the chamber to continue the fight with Jur. When Yunis questioned if there was a numerical designation on the boss, he noted that it was one of the lesser beasts, surpassing even a nightmare in terms of strength, despite being classified as a lesser beast. This revelation indicated that the boss Jur had triumphed over was not the actual third-floor boss. It underscored the escalating power of floor bosses as one delved deeper into the labyrinth. The rule held true without exception. The challenge in defeating floor bosses varied depending on one's capabilities, with the difficulty increasing as one descended through the floors. This implied that the mana within the bodies of these bosses heightened with each subsequent floor. The peculiar aspect of Jur encountering such a formidable opponent on the third floor raised questions. Typically, floor bosses were constrained to their chambers, a rule even followed by the middle apocryphal beasts. In fact, the orchestra did not attack until Jur opened the door. The perplexity deepened as they contemplated how an apocryphal beast, even weaker than the encountered one, could emerge from the boss chamber. Adding to the mystery, it transformed to reveal its true form. The simplest hypothesis would be that the third floor was an apocryphal beast that had been freed from the labyrinth rules. It can be thought in this way that the bonds of the labyrinth are weakening. Even if that was true, they would not be able to maintain their mana out of the labyrinth. Long time ago, before their birth, there was an apocryphal era when the atmosphere was full of mana. These beasts were able to live outside the labyrinth. They acted as humanity's fearsome neighbors. The reality was that they had an apocryphal beast right here in front of them. An atrocious creature that crawled straight out of annals of history. So, it can be said the apocryphal era will be reenacted. Jur was still upset during the whole conversation. They were pondering whether the third floor boss was a special case. There were some pages lost from Apocrypha. There was a fire in the library about 700 years ago, and a part of the original book went into the flames. Not just the original book was affected, the 7 books of the first manuscript were as well. Starting from the second manuscript onwards, everything was so vague that it is difficult to tell the truth. When Lily was a child, she just imagined how Rusty had killed the fallen king. But it was not the truth. The truth is, the fallen king was not killed by Rusty, but he was sealed here in this labyrinth. It was not a natural labyrinth. It was formed by the structure that Rusty created, an outpouring of the mana from the fallen king sealed here. It was a pseudo-labyrinth. The possible description of this place was found in the missing pages. Someone deliberately burned them up, and now the bonds were weakening and the monsters were trying to get out. And it was possibly far more grave than that. The labyrinth seal was about to break.
Here I am.